is help leverage that for Iskcon in North America to engage with environmental concerns. Because what I've seen so far, if I'm honest, is that we're not on the stage anywhere. People don't see Iskcon in any kind of environmental capacity, and I feel that really needs to change if we're to become relevant. One program we have is called the Green Temple Program. We have a 5-step program how temples in the United States, in Europe, and India can be environmentally friendly. We launched this program at the White House in 2011. It's a very, very easy program. And because what we find is that people read our books, we say we're environmentally friendly, and they come to our temples, and sometimes they see that we're still using styrofoam plates, or sometimes they see that we're using milk from cows that aren't protected, or sometimes they see that we're not using LED lights, and there's a disconnect between what's in the books, what we say, and what's practiced in the temples. And increasingly, the environment is becoming the mainstream religion of society. And so if we're not living and we're not practicing what we preach, people are going to walk away. And I see that so often across the world. So we have a Green Temples program. Community gardens are huge, I believe, in America, massive. Interfaith community gardens are also a big movement in the United States now. I know of Jewish communities working alongside Muslim communities doing community gardens. We have a program that's part of our Green Temples program called the Homegrown Garden. And we say, if you can't grow fruits and flowers and vegetables on the temple property, do it at your home, bring them to the temple, and your home garden becomes an extension of the temple. So it'd be wonderful to see if temples could implement community garden projects in their towns and cities. There are also mass mobilizations of people that are taking place all the time. In September last year, there was the People's Climate March that happened in New York. Did anybody hear of this or attend this? One person heard. This was the largest gathering of people in the United States to march against climate change. 400,000 people on the streets of New York. I was there, Anutama Prabhu was there, and thankfully the Harinam Ruchi worldwide team were there as well, so they represented Iskcon, but other than that there was no formal Iskcon representation at this march, which was such a shame. Anutama was actually on the phone the day before trying to find some devotees to come, and he couldn't find any. But there are massive mobilizations taking place regularly, and Iskcon should have a presence there, chanting the holy names. And I'm involved in quite a lot of these organizations, and I'm involved in a lot of these mobilizations over the next 12 months. So I would love to give Iskcon advance warning of when something's going to happen, so we can make sure we're there banging our drums and singing the holy names. This was the People's Climate March. It was a fantastic event. It was really good. Another thing we could do, and these are just ideas, I don't have really any sense of what's happening in North America. So I'm just like throwing out ideas, and I'm happy to be kicked out of America like you did to my British brethren many years ago. But what we could do is, there are a number of recognized international days that people celebrate and religious organizations celebrate. Earth Hour just took place recently, Earth Day, World Environment Week, World Vegetarian Week, an obvious choice for Iskcon to celebrate, but we don't as far as I know. World Mother Earth Day. We celebrate Mother Earth, we respect her. International Day of Forests and the Tree. Well, we worship trees. We worship Tulsi Devi every morning. We're probably the only religion in the world that worships a tree at 5:30 in the morning. That's a very strong environmental message, but we're just not seeming to communicate that. International Mountain Day. We worship the mountains. We think mountains are sacred. And I really believe we could celebrate a number of these days, get fantastic publicity, reach out to local news media, and say, hey, we're the Hare Krishna Temple, and we're celebrating World Water Day because we believe water is sacred, and we believe the Yamuna River needs to be saved, we believe the Ganges River needs to be saved, and we're going to hold a 6-hour kirtan on World Water Day so that everyone can have clean water in the world. Something very simple like that. I really believe like these are very, very easy and quick wins, and a number of religious organizations across the world celebrate these on a regular basis. And for me, it's a no-brainer. but I'm happy to discuss with everybody here what it could be done. One of my mentors is a disciple of Prabhupada called Rancho Prime, and he was involved with the environmental movement in London from the 1980s, pretty much. And this is what he said in one of his books. To live in harmony with nature, to show love to all creatures, never to harm any living being, to rejoice in the beauty of all natural life, of simplicity. This was Krishna's practice of religion. I personally believe Krishna consciousness is probably the most earth-friendly religion in the world today. But we're just not communicating that. And I know that because I attend international religion and conservation conferences across the world, and we're nowhere on the scene. Nobody knows anything that we're doing. We're just not present. So I really want us to make sure we tell people what we're doing and show people that we have an alternative. My time is up. These are my contact details. What I would love to do, and I'm working with Anutama Prabhu on this from Iskcon Communications, is to develop a small team of devotees in North America who could really look at what Iskcon needs to do to engage with the environmental movement. What kind of events, what kind of activities do we need to engage with to make ourselves relevant? Maybe we need to form a green task force. Maybe we need green ambassadors or green committees in our local temples. There's a number of ideas, and I'm happy to share whatever experience I have and whatever contacts I have, both here in the US and internationally as well, because I feel ashamed when I go to events and people say, what are the Hare Krishnas doing for the environment? And I can't really say much. I can't really say that we have a couple of farms and we don't use styrofoam plates. That's just not enough anymore. We need to be much more active, much more proactive. So I'm happy to take questions, but I'm pretty sure I'm out of time. But please.
No, being very British, she ended on time, actually early.
Okay.
So we'll take a few minutes for questions.
Besides speaking to a room full of people, only a few of whom are like temple president, GBC persons, do you have, or Anutama have an idea of expanding the awareness? And practically speaking, in New York, I have a recommendation while you're still there. Meet with Abhiram. He's in India, but he'll be coming back. They can be an instrument at parades and disseminate information on events. He may not go out of his way to ask you for that, but if you have an enchanté with him on those particular days and events, promote the awareness of, and he can educate. He's a mature person. He can educate his the Harinam Ashram Prabhu's. This is the message, and and so they can at least explain and refer people to wherever they need to be referred to for more information or something.
Yep, that sounds. Abhiram, is he doing the Food for Life in Thompson Square Park?
No, this is Prabhupada disciple Abhiram.
Okay.
After I'll give you his contact information.
We can talk afterwards. Yeah, but I'd be more than happy to connect with him.
From New York, what would you recommend for increasing awareness of this? And
for those who aren't from New York, from wherever you are in the US, Canada, or anywhere in the world, I would say the first thing is just develop a green person or a green policy or a green committee in your temple. That's like the first thing you need to do. Because unless you have that, just like yesterday, it was mentioned that most temples don't have a communications officer. I think these days, religious organizations, they need to have an environmental officer. And I think from the GBC level, we need to have an environmental ministry or minister at some point, but maybe that's too early to say. But at least in every temple, there should be an environmental person, and we should know what the environmental practices are of each temple. And I would say as a first step, do an environmental audit. See how much energy you're consuming, see how much waste you're throwing out every day, and say, next year we want to reduce our waste by 50%. Next year we want to go from styrofoam to biodegradables. Next year we want to go from conventional milk to organic milk. These are some very quick, easy wins. Some of them, there are financial implications, but doing the right thing isn't cheap. It costs money to be ethical and moral. But we have to take moral leadership. And what I'll say is, the reason the UN, the reason the World Bank are engaging with religions is because they need moral direction. They're actually desperate for moral direction. The UN and the World Bank have never worked with religions before. This year is the first time both organizations are formally working with religious institutions, is because they need that moral direction.
Other questions?
You said you're working with the UN. Now, they know you're the Hare Krishna, Iskcon?
Yeah, I mean, our organization is not an Iskcon organization. The Bhumi project is independently funded. But I don't hide the fact that I'm a Vaishnava. I don't hide the fact that I'm a member of Iskcon. But at the same time, I don't say I'm representing Iskcon. When I work with the UN, I represent the international Hindu community.
You listed out a few events, possible world, certain days or hours. And I felt that you perhaps, to inspire us, may have oversimplified the just 6-hour kirtan and you're there, you're done. I think there's more to it, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Because not only do we have to represent Iskcon, but we also have to do it properly, just so that we don't look like some sidekick show. There needs to be a right footing into this.
Sure.
And so, are you the person that we can reach out to for, let's say, promotional materials, messaging, and etc.?
Shall I respond?
Yeah.
You're right, I was being a bit simplistic just because of time constraints. The way I envision celebrating those specific days is that what I would love is if Iskcon internationally would agree to maybe celebrate 4 of those days, so maybe World Vegetarian Week, World Water Day. We can decide on the 4, and then we develop a task force, a team, that develops the resources for those 4 days. So the posters, the messaging, making sure that whatever messaging we're giving out on those days is right theologically and philosophically, what kind of events to do. So I'm happy to lead that team, but I can't do that because I just don't have the time. So if we can find that within this room, or if people can go back to the temples and find that team, it's just 2 or 3 people, it's not more than that. And we can get that done in a month quite easily.
And when we become a green temple, is it certified by something, some organization, or is it just we call ourselves a green temple? So the definition of green is self-appointed, or is it by someone?
Well, there are 2 things we could do. We could develop a standard within Iskcon, so we can have standards of greenery within Iskcon temples. And there are also national organizations in America that I'm connected with who can also give you certification of your green credibility. Yeah.
Any other questions? So thank you very much for probably... Oh, wait. There's another question.
Thank you. It's more a comment, and I really want to thank you for bringing this to our attention, because just like we had the one period earlier today that we were woefully not well represented or reaching out on the internet, I recall Bhaktitirtha Swami speaking about this in a very passionate appeal to Iskcon in Vrindavan. And one of the things he was saying is that we have such a powerful understanding of reality that we should be the ones out there that are leading these movements. And he gave some examples such as vegetarianism, the ecological movement, and that's why it really hit me, because it's something in the back of my mind, and just like many people, individuals in Iskcon may be aware that we really need to do something, and I think this is an opportunity to step forward now. Thank you for reminding us where we should be, leading the pack.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, I'm sure everyone here is aware of, it's not exactly environmental, but isn't it June 21st is International Yoga Day, declared by Narendra Modi all over the world. And so it's a very big opportunity. We rented a big outdoor like amphitheater for that day to have programs throughout the day. So now we are going to have a panel discussion. So, Soham, good mantra. We want to ask Prabhupada Swami, Bajranarayan Maharaj. Whoa, okay. Where did Kalakanta Prabhu? Whatever questions people ask you. Kalakanta Prabhu, don't hide. While we're waiting, by what we found a way to, all of the electricity at the temple in Washington comes from wind power. And so we have that all certified. We have, there's stickers that they give you and banners and everything that it's all coming from wind power. Like that. And so people kind of appreciate that. Somewhere in suburbs. Yeah. No, not on the property. No, we don't have the windmill. We just get the electricity. There's a lot of wind coming out of Capitol Hill. Yes. Mahatattva Prabhu, would you come? I think that's enough. I wasn't going to lie down. So this is your opportunity, stump the swamis and the gurus and the sadhus. But seriously, we know that it was a action-packed, very full schedule with not a lot of time for questions and answers. So here is the chance. The different devotees here made different kinds of presentations, and basically you can ask any question that you would like to ask. And we could ask questions also. Yes. Let's ask them first. And I'll sit down also just in case you want to stump the grihasta. Yes, Prabhu.
So, I just wanted to go back to what we did the first day as an exercise. And see where we are after. I think is this the right point to discuss that? Sure. So I don't know. I mean, how many points did we cover from what was?
Okay. Let's do a little review. If you recall, there was 3 questions that were asked. The first question was, the first one was a warm-up, just get to know each other. The second one was, what are we doing well in Iskcon today that should continue? Do you feel that we covered some of those points? I remember prasadam distribution was up there, book distribution was up there. Some of the, Krishna House was mentioned there because we are doing that now. Not compromising the philosophy. Harinam. Would you say we covered some of those things? Yeah? Okay.
Definitely we did. And I just wanted to thank you for, setting this up. And, I don't know if it's time for thanking everybody, but I personally had a great experience from the seminar. And it would be really great to have something like this every year.
Well, thank Prabhupada. So I just got on an airplane and got here. I didn't do anything except cracked a few jokes. The second question was, what are some things that we are doing now that we might want to set aside or we're not doing very well that really needs some serious improvement? Did Gopal Bhatta Prabhu mention anything? What was that? Certainly the internet, right, is a sad state of affairs now. And we also, Mahatattva Prabhu spoke about not epistemology. What was the fancy word?
Well, I brought up 4 points.
Here, hold on. Just remind us briefly.
Yeah, I brought up 4 points which were addressed by I still have a huge headache. Sorry. by the project I ended up calling Krishna Lounge. One was that that the temple where we used to invite, where we used to invite new people was not new people friendly, and that our community suffered from the misconception that our temple is still a hip place, but you know, when a young person from a street looks in and there's all these adults, it's obviously a very culturally defined place, space, and etc. So that was point one. Point two was communication. We invite people who have not had much exposure to Krishna consciousness to our Sunday program, for example. That was the case at our temple. And yet the lectures that are given at the temple were absolutely neither prepared nor spoken for the new people. What else was there? Oh, crashing parties. That was the third point. That, and again, I'm not against any of these things, but they have their own place. And so I felt that instead of only crashing other people's parties, that why not have a party at our own place and have people come over so we can talk to them. And in all honesty, I can't remember the fourth point.
Thank you. And Devamrita Maharaj, and also Kalakanta Prabhu, they all kind of touched upon things that we have been doing in Iskcon that could use, at least at the very minimum, some tweaking, if not some major overhaul. So we covered that. Now, I don't know if do you feel we covered the last one? Because it was interesting, several devotees, senior devotees were coming up to me after the last question was, what's the goal of our Western outreach? And there was, that's my, I have a green phone. It's my way of preaching when I'm working in the federal government. I can tell people about cow protection. Yes. It was a bit vague, those, if you look at and we are going to type up all of your answers, and we'll send them out to everyone. We have that taken care of. But at the same time, there were some goals. Kalakanta Prabhu, is quite focused on what the goal of the Krishna House is in Gainesville, isn't it? You have a...
In general, getting friendly, full, vibrant ashrams in our temples as a goal. And not only living in the temple life, but preparing for independent householder life as well. So we listed that as one of our goals.
No, I would, what I understood, what was behind his question maybe wasn't. But something that I don't like to do is participate in something that just goes out into the ether and we forget because we get distracted. So I was hoping that in addition to typing and sending, there would be some other, like, how do we move this forward beyond our discussions here?
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I was asking for this to be arranged for, like every year or something like that, where we could follow up or something.
Just the list of what was on the board of 3, that first evening, where's that going to go besides you send out the list?
So Maharaj is asking, where is that going to go besides having it typed up and sent out, and it's another email amongst your 100 that you receive every day? Some thoughts on where we can take what we've discussed these past 2 days? Maharaj first. Can someone hand him a mic?
I looked at that group of things several times, and I noticed that there was a lot of coherence there. You were asking at the very beginning, would it be all over the place or whatever? At least about the first 2 questions. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And we basically were addressing those. It's the third one that Lakshmi Moni came to me, and I agreed with her 100%, that we don't have a clear goal. It's completely out there. Of course, I think we're not going to have one goal we're going to have a strategy that engages many goals toward reaching the one, kind of abstract goal of making people Krishna conscious, That's how I would say. And then I think we need to actually bounce that idea around and figure out who decides that, how do we think about it, or at least how do we have a system to come to some of those directives that will be goals for us in improvement over the future. Of course, isn't that what the SGGS and ILS are supposed to be doing anyways?
Yes, pass back.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with the idea that what happens when you go to these conferences and so on, training, seminars, you feel good while it's going on, and then it starts to fade. The impact starts to fade over time after you leave. So what I've noticed in the secular world, at least in the medical and the personal development world, is that they set up a system where the people that are the participants join an ongoing community. And they could set it up like an internal, based on the collection of the list, they could make it possible for each person to communicate with each other. You can also set up a Facebook group. You can set up a Yahoo group. So where there's constant feedback coming in and fresh ideas, because we will leave here, and it's after we leave here and we go back over our notes or look at the, whatever we're going to be sent, that download, that we really start to have wonderful ideas as to how we could do this, as opposed to trying to come up with ideas now, right in the, the weekend that we're receiving the information. So it gives us time to do that.
So some kind of electronic community,
Yes.
as we were hearing about.
Yes,
from
yes,
Gopal
where
Bhatta
people
Prabhu.
can go and make comments, all these things that we're talking about now, you can go and make comments about different parts that were presented here today.
Okay.
In terms of the goal, I think you and I were talking, and it kind of came up now, where my partner on that question, she had a different idea. And I was saying in response to her idea that I don't think it's about making devotees. And Radhanath Swami expressed it in one sentence today in his presentation, what I was thinking. And that is, we need to give each person on the planet a chance to meet a devotee. And from there on, the power of the holy name will take over. We still need to make the effort, do all these things we're talking about. So it's an ongoing systematical outreach of Lord Chaitanya. But we need to have more faith in the holy name rather than us trying to do every little thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Over there.
So addressing this topic of, is this just going out? There's not going to be anything that comes further from this whole discussion that we've had over these past couple of days. I think a lot of the amazing ideas that were presented simply need manpower, some enthusiastic people that have that inclination for these specific topics. And speaking for myself, I'm sure there are more young people like myself that are looking for a place in Iskcon. We are very moved by Srila Prabhupada's books. We're here, we're excited, we're enthusiastic, and we're simply looking for that place that we can fit in and contribute. So it's a matter of taking this knowledge that we've come across, these ideas, and spreading it, moving it from just this room, because there's so many temples in San Diego, in Canada and New Zealand. And most of us have college degrees, we have talents, we have inclinations. It's just a matter of making us feel inspired and that we do have a place in Iskcon. And unfortunately, this is a start. This is definitely a start, and I feel very enthusiastic because there's so much that we can contribute. We just need a chance to do that.
Thank you.
I would say reach out to the young people that are looking for a place in Iskcon right now. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, Prabhu. Oh, you had, I didn't know you had the mic on.
Hare Krishna. One comment that came from Gopal Bhatta Prabhu, it was just made in passing, and it's not directly related to the topic of the seminar, but it does have a, it's definitely related to this topic of discussion, that, you know, how is implementation going to happen, what's going to come out of the whole workshop or different discussions. He had mentioned that he said it would be nice if there were more bottom-up initiative, but right now we're a pretty much top-down organization. Maybe I'm not paraphrasing that perfectly, but so I was just putting that out there again because I think it's relevant in terms of what's going to come from this series of discussions. If that's true, that Iskcon is currently a very much top-down organization, then really this question is for the people on the top. What's going to happen now? Because the people on the bottom don't have a lot of, let's say, a voice, if it's true, this comment that was there.
Is that okay? Just really quick. I would agree and disagree with Gopal Bhatta Prabhu, because to me it is mega obvious that Iskcon is not one, help me with the word. No, it's not just one thing. Iskcon is so variegated, I mean, Kalakanta Prabhu, his presentation was completely the opposite, right? It was more like bottom top, from the bottom towards the top. So where do you live? You want to move to San Diego? Or even where you live, I'd be very happy to keep you busy. And you could start by engaging other young girls and boys.
So,
I'm just
please,
though,
please.
I don't think that's exactly what Gopal Bhatta was saying, because I work with him a lot, and I think he would think kind of that, I think he thinks it's the opposite, but there should be some more top-down in terms of uniformity, but bottom-up initiatives as long as they're somehow connected to a bigger picture. I doubt that's exactly what he meant, but maybe I got it wrong also. Go ahead, Prabhu.
well, in any case, he's not here, and I don't want to take too much time on it, more than I already have, but one question I would kind of pose, just based on the statement, point blank, that he had, you know, it would be nice if more bottom-up initiative were going on, and of course with the caveat, you mentioned underneath this umbrella of a holistic vision, then the question might be how to create an atmosphere or a space or a community that really encourages that and empowers persons to take more responsibility or kind of express themselves, whatever it would be. I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, Prabhu, with the microphone. You had a question?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. In relation to Mataji's comment here about youth being ready to take initiative.
You're ready, right?
Well, the kind of question, because I've talked with youth from different parts of the U.S., and I was kind of thinking about it when Devamrita Maharaj kept mentioning his discussions with Kalakanta Prabhu about how things work differently in the U.S. than they do in most other countries, most other first world countries, as far as like healthcare and stuff like that, which makes us basically scared, you know, job situations and whatnot. So I was just thinking, I mean, I've talked with many youth, and many people are ready, and like she was saying, they're educated, but they're perhaps maybe scared because they're capable of being full-time involved in these different types of efforts, but they're not sure that some support will come from that. I guess, I mean, to be straightforward financially, I don't know if there's any kind of movement towards spiritual, like kind of self-sufficient, like something coming from that.
Well, I know it's a challenge. I think you know my son, Gopinath, and he's probably the one you spoke to about that. No, it's not he's not my son. My son's not as handsome as him. But it is a issue that, my son will often tell, different sannyasis that pass through DC, if you give, I have some guys who are fantastic, if you gave them $35,000 a year, they would just be yours, and, things like that. Because the way he talks to me, he says, we look at you, meaning people like of my generation, and we see you're, scraping by financially and don't know if your health care is going to be taken care of in your old age, and they're thinking, so I want to be like that 30 years from now. And that's a difficult question. Do you want to answer that, Marge?
How much time do we have for this question-answer?
15 more minutes. Kalakantabru, you kind of touched upon this in terms of how you deal with university students. Would you like to mention?
Well, it will be a sign of growth in our organization when we can modestly support people professionally to do vital services. So much of what I heard this weekend was just begging for somebody to do something. But as you correctly say, if you are going to be a financially independent person, then you have to work outside and then volunteer your time. Once a devotee in Houston told me, you get a job, I was the temple president full time, he said, you get a job, work all day, and then come and volunteer at the temple, and then you'll understand what it means to be a devotee. And I found that discouraging. But to be honest, I've worked in Iskcon and raised a family on about $18,000 a year for most of my adult life. And I'm blessed with a devotee wife who is willing to live like that, but there's a great deal of insecurity that goes with it. And again, when I see all of my fellow chaplains at the University of Florida all being paid $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year and doing very little, just holding a position, I understand these organizations are rich financially but dead spiritually. So the question will be, can we support people financially and yet will they be able to keep the mood of Vairagya Vidya? And I really don't know the answer to that question. But I do think that we're not going to go much further as the kind of volunteer organization that we are now.
Well, speaking from the top-down dinosaur, Mukunda, that question is discussed on a regular basis, and the top people having, every now and then we do take a little time out and speak with some of the youth, and it's a clear message. I can share with you, even as recently as 2 days ago, we're having local discussions about how to. And the need is there, and the how to is not yet clear, but evolving. And it's going to, there's some ideas and there's some resistance and there's some growth requirement, and not a clear answer. The same as, real important, not a clear answer. Some ideas, how to grow some of those ideas, and there's the incubation chamber.
Do you agree that, does the GBC agree that America is uniquely difficult in this regard?
Well, having heard what you said today, Varmita Maharaj, I could hardly disagree. I don't know if it's uniquely, because I don't have the experience that he has outside of,
Think of third world countries. Third world countries.
Yeah, India doesn't have any net.
China doesn't either. That's, one of the places I go. And it's certainly an issue about full-time people. They had one full-time person for a little while because Tirtharaj helped one person who was really good at education to develop curriculum in Chinese for Chinese education. The plug got pulled, and now they're back to, being a yoga teacher, much of the week, as opposed to full-time working on things that the whole of mainland of China devotees could take advantage of. So it's struggling everywhere. That's not like, misery loves company maybe, but the understanding is, and the solution is not yet clear. You want to say something?
Yeah, I'd like to say
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Uh, this is my perception of Iskcon, that Iskcon is a society, and it is what we make it, not just like a few guys, but everyone. Everyone here is absolutely empowered to make a change. And Iskcon is what we all make it. I personally don't like to wait for others to do stuff. When I see that there's something I can do, I just go and do it. Well, I consult a few people before, but I think it's important to understand that everyone here is absolutely empowered. And one of the purposes of not only this meeting, but numbers of meetings Iskcon devotees have organized is primarily educational, which means, again, empowering, giving people ideas and thoughts and inspiration to go and do stuff.
Where's our microphone?
Thank you very much for a wonderful discussion. I would like to refer to a point that Kalakanta Prabhu mentioned, that indeed in our Iskcon society there is such problem that our Iskcon devotees, majority of Iskcon devotees living outside of the temple, not like was some few decades ago, and they are struggling to maintain their families. Meantime, we need to see that meantime when they are working outside, they remain supporting materialistic economy. And temples have no devotees. So I was deliberating on this point quite a long time, being by myself in Las Vegas, trying to create preaching center from the scratch. So for a few decades I was growing up in the temple, so everything was quite easy. However, when I was alone by myself, I experienced hardship. In that time, I don't even have green card, but by Krishna's grace, I became a federal employee, and I was working for government, and this way money came to maintain the preaching. But meantime, I was assisting with many other devotees of Iskcon who are struggling outside. And then we complain, where we have devotees, why they are not coming? When devotees coming to their home after 8-10 hours of hard work, and they have family and kids, how they can get the energy and time to come to the temple and perform devotional service? So this leads me to conclusion that maybe we should create certain structure or network of devotees who are capable, and say on the business field, to create certain work, some kind of job for devotees, that they can get together arm to arm in Krishna conscious environment, create certain atmosphere conducive for be together, perform devotional service, and support our spiritual economy. So by Krishna's mercy, I got this opportunity, and at the present moment, I'm trying to propagate sattvic business for devotees based on natural health care for devotees, as well as residual income. Thank you.
I'm looking at the clock. We have about 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Just echo what Mahatattva Prabhu said. Everyone in the room has power and is empowered, and you can take initiative. Just like that idea, get together with others that are interested in that idea and manifest the idea, rather than wish it was there and it's not there, and then we move on to the next thing that we... So find something, each of us, out of the subject matters that we heard and think how to move some subject matter forward. Like, she mentioned this idea of ongoing communication. I certainly would like to see that. I can think of other ways than Google groups or Yahoo groups or Facebook groups or things like that. That's just like sharing ideas, which is nice. Your relationships continue and you share ideas. But an action-oriented person like myself would like to see some structure where an idea starts moving into the, forming and developing into the world of action. So I haven't heard yet. I was hoping that Braja Bihari had an idea. Maybe in the next day or two, he will have an idea of how to move things forward. We do have everybody's contact information. I mean, the one action item that maybe two. One action item is this group of persons that want to get together and develop an idea for marketing. And Nityananda Pran is going to convene the first one, find the additional people and move that, just initially to convene. And Chandrasekhar Maharaj requested content for blogs and internet outreach. News correspondence. And so some appeal for that. You will have all the presentations made and the contact information for Kalakantra Prabhu, and he'll be sitting with those of you that wish to have some dialogue with him about how to set up a Krishna house in your place. What we didn't do, maybe we should do now. What are the topics that we should have breakout sessions for? And I mean, you could perhaps facilitate a discussion on a lounge program, persons that are interested in that and how they might do that in their place. Those that wish, and you can share ideas. Yeah. So, before, asking for who would be interested in this one, that one, are there other key areas that for breakout discussion you would like to see, and there's somebody in the room that can facilitate that type of discussion?
The same idea that the last person just spoke about of creating job or self-employment initiatives in particular areas of interest or skills, so that we can start thinking about being more self-sufficient than the idea of struggling.
Okay, there's 3 ideas. Any additional ideas? Nandasuti, you're stretching or you have an idea? Just stretching. Oh, okay. Well, actually, there is another idea. And Alex, your idea of, youth getting together and doing something as youth and feel supported and empowered to do that. Yes? You'd like to take part in a discussion like that? Could we give her the microphone? Her voice could use a little amplification.
Just an idea I was thinking about just now is that we could even just make some kind of website, do something for Krishna and just appeal to the devotees that already exist, that all the ideas we came up with so far to recruit people, we can just by word of mouth or whatever, and you can even make it appealing to someone that is into searching for some spiritual thing, someone that's into yoga, that has talents, we could make it a...
Okay, now you're going into detail, and I'm suggesting we have until what time? 6 o'clock? 5:45? 6 o'clock? 5:45, we have 45 minutes to 1 hour, and so far there's an idea of 4 topics: youth, taking some bottoms-up initiative, a possibility. I don't know if there's like persons in the room that are interested, but a Bhakti Lounge type of activity, Krishna House type of activity, and this other idea of self-sufficient little entrepreneurial devotees helping to support themselves so they can do more full-time service. Bhumi project? Huh? Okay. What I was thinking to do is get our little list and then ask the question, is there anybody here that is not prepared to take, is not so inspired to take part in one of those 4 topics, and if so, is there another topic? Is the question clear? Krishna lunch. Would Rasika Manjari be willing to come and participate in sharing with people how they might? Could you call her and, could I see a show of hands? Persons that would like to sit with Rasika Manjari and hear from her how to do Krishna lunch in your vicinity. A few. Okay, so she has an audience if you can get her to come. Okay. You're going to call her on the microphone? Oh, he's going to go get her, okay. And so I'll ask the question again. The Krishna lunch, Bhakti Lounge, Krishna Lounge, Krishna Lounge, Krishna House, self-sufficiency, youth doing something collectively. Does there anybody not find one of those 5 something that they'd like to take part in, or would like to propose a 6th something, and maybe even can facilitate it or something like that? What's your? Well, it doesn't touch. It's a model of housing people, not a model of getting to that stage, just reaching people. Who would like to take part in that topic discussion as opposed to the other 6? You would like to, and as opposed to the other 6? Okay, because you had your hand up for the... Okay. Here she is. Okay, so just a show of hands. Rasika Manjari, could you get a chair, sit over there in the corner, and we'll have people that wish to have the Krishna lunch option for your local area. Could you just raise your hand so we can see how many like that idea? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Could you go now sit with Rasika Manjari? And could I see a show of hands of those that would be interested in a Krishna lounge discussion in your area? 1, 2, 3, 4. So maybe you can come right up here and you just stay where you are and they can. And Kalakanta over in that corner. Are there persons in the room that would be interested in taking part in a little discussion on how you might establish a Krishna house in your preaching area? Come on over here with Kalakanta. Do you have a favorite place you'd like to sit? Maybe you could go in the back corner just because there's nobody else over there. And those that are interested in discussing self-sufficiency, devotee economy, those that wish to more full-time devotional service and less full-time job kind of discussion over in that corner. And maybe in the middle over here, the youth, Alex, the youth in this area towards the back, right by that Prabhupada poster there, and you know, whoever is interested. And is there anybody, and those that are interested in having a discussion on environmentalism, you know where to go. Just right where you are is fantastic. Is there anybody that doesn't know where to go now? Oh, with the college discussion. College outreach right here in the middle of the floor. College outreach right here in the middle of the floor. Just turns us in a circle, face each other. So, if you're not clear, come on up and we'll have a little discussion about what options are there for you.